Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite online business podcast. If you are tuning in, listening, watching on the day that it drops, it is Monday, February 23rd. Welcome to the last week of February, this short-ass fucking month. Short-ass month. Today we're talking about your audience and how they consume content. And I think this is something that we forget about, which is a good segue into the one business update that I want to drop before we get into today's main topic. So the Biz update, the Biz announcement, the new messaging offers and services, they are coming. And quite possibly by the time that this drops, they will be here. They should be. But I'm not going. But at the time I'm recording this, I am in the home stretch of building out the offers. Let me turn this mic up. I don't know, it always goes down. I'm in the home stretch of building out the sales pages, the intake forms, the appointment emails, and reminders and all that stuff. Yes, I do that stuff myself. I don't mind it. I like it. So I'm in the midst of that and towards the home stretch of that. So that hopefully it should be launched. They should all be launched by the time that you guys listen to this. But y'all know that for the past year and a half, I've been giving myself time and space and grace to figure out a quote unquote new direction for the biz. And I'm going to link, if it's ready, the full services page in the show notes, the full messaging services page. But I will also probably do a full episode on what messaging coaching is in regards to how I do it. But the 2-second pitch spiel, whatever you want to call it, is I help you speak your people's language. Right? Simple as that. The offers that I have around this, I got something for everyone here, folks. And I'm excited about it. I got some async offers, meaning I do it and just send it to you. You read it, you implement. I have one-on-one sessions. I have deep dives. I'm really excited about that one. Really excited. And I have ongoing monthly support that I'm going to be rolling out. So if you're interested, click the link, whatever link is in the show notes. If the offers aren't rolled out, it'll be the link to the interest list so that you'll be the first to know when they are rolled out. But if it is rolled out by then it'll be the link to see all of the offers. So let's pivot, switch, move to the main topic today, which is remembering how your audience consumes content. Right? So we see the overlap here in what I help with and messaging coaching, helping you speak your people's language, which means understanding what they want, what they care about, how they do things. This is something that I think we kind of get away from, and it's not, there's no malintent behind it. But today's episode is inspired by a message that I received from a homie. And she messaged. I get these I don't want to say I get these all the time, but I get messages about podcast episodes, and I be fucking yapping, folks. Y'all know I don't shut up, and I never remember what the episode, what they're talking about, unless it's the episode I just put out. And even then, I'm still like, let me go back and see what that episode was and what I said. All right? Why? Because I record things a week ahead of time, and so then the episode has to come out, and then the person has to listen. And so there's a gap in there, right? Which is a great reminder and something that I've known for quite some time because I do get these messages. You got to remember how your audience consumes content, right? Think about how you consume content. Do you read every single email from your favorite creator? Maybe. But do you read it right when it gets delivered? Do you save some of them? You're like, oh, this is good. I'm going to come back to it. What about podcast episodes? Do you listen to them right away? Do you save them depending on what the topic is or how long the episode is? Maybe it depends on your commute that day or what you're doing. For me personally, I listen to every episode of Eat, Train, Prosper, but I only listen when I'm working out. And by listen, I mean I now watch it on YouTube. So I think it drops on Mondays, and then the audio version drops on Tuesdays, something like that. They do it on different days. But either way, I'm not watching it right when it comes out, ever. I'm never watching it the minute. If it happens to be there, awesome. But also, it just depends on my workout schedule. But I watch it. What about just in general? We go through phases. Right? I used to read every email from certain creators, and then I used to listen to every podcast episode, and now not so much. You're like, all right, I learned that, or it's just not as much of a phase that I'm in, or it's not as relevant to it's not as relevant to the phase I'm in. It happens. All right. So in considering those things, I want to offer up 3 big takeaways, 3 things to think about. Number 1, which is the title of this episode, remember how your audience consumes content, right? It's going to be different for every audience, but if you're going to humans, your audience is humans, then you can assume that in general, the way they consume is not going to be immediate, especially if you produce things with volume, even if they love you. Right. So to that end, don't expect feedback in the moment. In general, don't expect feedback at all. It's nice to go in without that expectation and then be super grateful when you get it, when you hear from people. You can ask for it, but don't expect it. Right. I do think that this is what people like about Instagram and Threads, social media in general, is that there's more immediacy, right? You post something and like you get feedback. You can get feedback right away. But we know things be going viral way after the fact. But I think I know that there's definitely that piece to things where you're like, cool, I can put this out and I can see pretty quickly or in a much shorter amount of time what people think about it and get some feedback and get some conversation on it. Right. Something else to think about with this in terms of how people create and your audience, consumes content is that more isn't inherently better, especially depending on the type of content. And we're going to categorize that as push versus pull content. And also, the secondary piece there, how long it takes to consume that content. So push content, you send it directly, right? You as the creator, it is creator directed, it is creator driven. Right? Whereas pull content is user initiated. They either have to go and find it, they have to go and get it, or it gets served to them like in their feed, but like they're not just like, it's not just getting, sent directly by you each time. And we understand this inherently. Social media, that is pull content. Podcasts are also pull content, even if you subscribe. Whereas email is push content. Ads, push content. Pull content, that's going to be user initiated. They have to like go and find it, or it gets served to them in like a feed amongst a lot of other things. Whereas push content, it's sent directly to them. I realize that it feels like podcasts can kind of straddle that line, but I would put them more in the pull content category. The big things that we're thinking about here is kind of social media versus email, right? Social media, pull, email, push content. The takeaway that I want you to take away from this is that more is not inherently better. More aligned is better. I will say, and my whole shtick, like post every day, social media, you can feel free to go crazy, right? Because it is pull content, it's user initiated. People can like easily scroll on by, like it's not as interruption marketing and jarring. Whereas emails, you do got to think about your user. Right? Some people, depending on the niche, would be okay with daily finance, the market, because the information is changing daily. Whereas if it's busy moms, maybe not ever, right? Or like, I know I always use them as the example. I'm not a busy mom, but I work with them and I see the things and I can imagine, and I'm just like, more definitely wouldn't be more better. And then, like we said, it's the kind of like tangential piece there is consider how much a person can actually consume per sitting. So like I do subscribe to financial things that are put out every day. I listen to a podcast. I watch it on YouTube more so. And I also have a newsletter that I subscribe to. They're not like hour-long things, right? I will say the YouTube, some of them are longer, like 30 to 40 minutes, but it's not like, even then, it's not like hours upon hours. And it's about topics that are constantly changing, right? So different user bases can obviously tolerate more content versus others. It's just all I want you to do is think about how your people might be consuming. And that doesn't mean to stop because like they're consuming slower, right? It's just more so to understand that they're probably behind you. So keep going and don't get all salty that you didn't hear from them right away, right when you dropped it. Right. Second big thing to think about underneath this umbrella within this episode is give your audience a way to binge your brain. I talk about this all the time, and I'm going to keep talking about it. Social media, email/blog, podcasting, long form videos, right? People learn differently and people want to consume things in different ways. So give them a way to do that. Right? This doesn't need to start all at once and probably should not start all at once when you're just coming into the space and looking to build a personal brand. But the goal is to diversify how you reach and teach people, right? Not where, because people are like, I'm going to be on this social media platform and this social media platform. That's where you're reaching them, not how. So to me, the order of operations that I always recommend is you start off with social media. It's where the eyes are. It's a lot of real estate there. It's pull content. You're not going to overwhelm people because they don't see everything, right? This type of content there is going to be short form audio visual. Right? The next thing we look to go into is going to be email or blogs. That's going to be longer form written. Then the next thing, podcasting. That's going to be audio only. Then the next thing we got on top of that, YouTube or vlogging. That's long form or longer form audio visual. If people are, I have some folks that are like really averse to social media. You can do this and look to start without it. But what I see people do in that realm is that they like to write. And in that case, it's going to be on Substack, which to me is social media. Right? It is short form. It's just all written. Right. So we start off because attention is earned. So we start off with these short blips, these short teasers of things, right? To try before you buy. And then we move into the longer form of those, right? Because attention is earned. Obviously, you can have overlap here. A blog and a newsletter, kind of same thing. Podcast can be YouTube. Right? My whole shtick, my whole push is for you to diversify how you reach and teach your people, right? When it comes to your content creation. Give them a way to binge your brain. Lastly, point number 3, talk about your shit. Talk your shit. Talk about your shit. People are busy. Right, which is the value of pull content because they're not seeing everything. And like, why pull content exists? Like, they're not seeing everything, so you can keep pushing things out. And I should say, putting things out. I don't want you to think that this is push content. You can keep putting things out there because they're not seeing everything. Right? They are not as obsessed with you as you'd like them to be, and most people don't have any idea of all the things that you're creating. Right? A good number of folks had no idea that I have a whole other podcast, ChatGPT Curious, which I'm working on renaming. It's a big lift. And I have concurrently with that a newsletter and blog that is all about AI. Right? I shared this on the reason I know this is that I shared on Threads a recent blog post that I wrote about switching from ChatGPT to Claude and how to do that. And I definitely picked up new listeners and new subscribers. We hit 100 email subscribers, newsletter subscribers. And it's definitely from that, right? Because I talked about it, right? Cross-pollinate, talk about your shit on the different platforms. Right? That's the only way that people are going to know that all the stuff that you have exists. Right? My big play here, though, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. I actually get really excited about this. My big play here, my big push with this episode in encouraging you to think about and remember how your people consume content is to encourage you to keep creating. Right? I really enjoy creating, and I will just create to create things just to get it out of my head. But I know that's not the case with everyone. And so I thought perhaps if I get a bit more technical and speak really fast and get a bit more tactical and a bit more granular, it might help you and folks who need it to see the value of and the necessity of ongoing content creation. Right? Don't try to time the market, folks. In all the ways of, in all the aspects of that, don't try to time the market. People are going to be ready when they're ready. Your consumers, your potential customers, they're going to be ready when they're ready. To me, the goal is not to push them to be ready sooner. It's to simply be there and be top of mind when they decide that they're ready. Right? I think about it, best example, this, my girl Allegra, she talked about buying a vacuum. Like, you don't need a vacuum all the time. Like, you have one, you're not like thinking about it all the time. But if you have that constant, reminder and the brand awareness, when you go to buy a vacuum, you're like, I'm buying a Dyson. Right? We have 3 here. So this familiarity, this being top of mind, this is this person or this person or no one when I'm ready. That won't happen if you're generating content once every never. Right? What should that cadence, that content creation cadence look like? That's up to you. Right? Just remember how your people consume content and the reality that they are behind you. That is the main thing here. Understand that they are likely behind you, behind your creation, right, with their consumption. And so you're probably not going to get that immediate feedback on things. Just keep going. All right, that's all I got for today. I'm gonna keep this one short. It's raining. You can't really tell. I got the lights. And maybe you can't tell if you're watching because like my face is brighter because I got the lights on. But it's raining. The rain has come to California. We need it. Do we? I don't know, but I don't mind. It's February. It's supposed to rain. So that's all I got for today. I'm going to go and do some other work on these messaging offers. Don't forget to check out the messaging offers because they should be launched by the time that you guys are watching and listening to this. I am big stoked to be rolling them out and leaning into this, quote unquote, new direction. So giddy up. All right. As always, endlessly, give it to me one more time. Endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. Until next time, friends, Maestro out.